I don't know, I kind of just add it to green.
Yes, you can.
Makes sense.
You know, the only Appleton Social is, just to call somebody, you want me to contact them?
Oh, he's going to be here. Is that, it's on for presentation.
Yeah, if you can point it out.
That is, if somebody contacted these people and told them they were on for presentation.
No, this is just something, well, they have something else going on for the interior stuff. They're here anyway.
No, I mean,
Welcome, everybody, to the regular meeting for the Board of Trustees for November 12th, 2024. Is there a motion to open tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor. Meeting is hereby open. One trustee is appearing virtually. His address has been properly noticed, so it is acceptable for him to appear virtually. Can you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is a presentation on 77 Livingston. And can we have your name and what your affiliation is?
Sure. My name is Gabriel C. I'm architect here with Elizabeth and Ken Everett to discuss 77 Livingston Avenue.
This particular application needs.
Want to tell us who you are?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Valerie Menastra from Nelson Pope and Voorhees, the planning consultant for the village. This particular application is a license agreement from the village board. It will receive its site plan approval at the planning board level. So this one does not require like a site plan approval from the village board.
So what are we doing?
So
What's our role?
in the past, we watch the presentation, and then there's consensus if the board is amenable to eventually issuing a license, and then it goes to the planning board, if the approvals are in place, and the plans come back to you, and then you pass a resolution authorizing entering into it.
Right. So
But right now, we don't have any recommendation from the planning board on this issue.
No,
No,
you
because
don't.
it's just
That will come
right,
after the
site
public
plan
hearing.
will be only at the planning board level.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So the presentation we broke into three parts, talk about the petition and then existing conditions and proposed conditions. So the petition is, as was mentioned, the license agreement with the village to use village property to create 2 parking spots in the process of converting an existing one-family structure in a MDR district, which was just being discussed on the working group previously, into a 2-family. One of the issues on that conversion is to create the necessary number of parking spots that a 2-family structure requires. Each dwelling, by code, you're required to have 2 off-street parking spots. Currently, the house has only 1 off-street parking spot, and as we are adding a second dwelling, the code allows us to to not address the current deficit of 1 parking spot. So we are required to provide 2 off-street parking spaces to the property. This is the existing condition. The property is in the corner of the sharp corner with Livingston and High Street. Is a odd shape lot. The house pre-exists zoning code and setbacks. So you can see that this triangular shape here is really like where as of right, the setback to the allowed structure to be built today in the property. And the current driveway or off-street parking space I was referring to happens to the south of the house. North is to the right-hand side. Elizabeth, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the reasoning of changing.
It's
or
really
converting
important
the
for
house
them to
from
just
one
see the
family.
proposed.
Yeah,
Where-
we
where-
are getting to it.
Okay.
I just want to give a little bit more, just explanation of why we are proposing what we're proposing.
It has to do with my time of where I am in my
Name?
life.
Can
at
you
the
just tell us
moment.
who you are?
Yeah, I'm Elizabeth Everett.
Okay.
I'm the owner of the house in question.
Okay.
And I've lived in the village for about 19 years. I was a Cub Scout den leader. I volunteer for the Westchester Emergency Communications Association. I've done work with, not currently, but I've done work with the Garden Club and the Beautification Committee. So I like the town. I don't want to have to leave it. So and also my house is kind of empty now. I've got my son here, but my husband passed away a little over 3 years ago, and my daughter moved out. So I just want to bring in more people. I also enjoy gardening and keeping the property. So I just hoping that I can, I guess, become a landlady. Bring
Okay.
in another family and share the house with them.
Got it. Thank you. So the issue for us is you want us to give you a license agreement so that you can park 2 cars on the village property.
That's correct.
Okay.
And just I have some images here that was part of the application package that was submitted showing the current conditions, from Livingstone, which is the image on the top left. The image on the bottom left shows a pre-existing condition that is down on High Street that is similar to what we are trying to emulate, which is create those 2 off-street parking spaces off High Street. And some other images around the house, so you can have also a sense of how the topography works on that lot.
Would you go back to your survey and just outline it? In our packet, it's hard to see the property line. Could you do you have with your cursor, can you just show us the property line?
Sure.
And
yeah.
then show us the area where you're proposing that? I mean, if you have a
Sure.
separate drawing with that, we could look at.
Okay. Yeah. No. Let me move further to then the proposed site. Here we go. So everything that's shaded in yellow is outside of the property. The property line stops, where the cursor is now. Sorry, I'm not sure what all these gray dots are. I think it's something to do with the PDF viewer here. But so everything that is shaded in yellow is outside of the property. Part of our application, we are proposing to build a sidewalk connecting the existing stair that goes down from Livingstone to High Street and along along the property to where our parking spots would be built.
And I'm sorry, are you proposing parking spots accessible from High Street or from Livingston?
They would be accessible from High Street.
But right now, there's no sidewalk right there, so they've got to add, 40 feet of
understood.
sidewalk or something.
Right. And then, so the idea is that the tenants would park, access their parking space from High Street. There would be a set of steps that would take them, the set of steps is inside the property, and a pathway that would lead them to the entry door of their unit in the basement.
Okay, so then that sliver along High Street that goes up to Livingston, that is village property?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And the only part that's can you just circle where your proposed parking spots are?
It's here.
And that's village property or that's on the owner's property?
That's partially on village property and partially on owner's property.
And where is the actual access to it from the street, if that entail is?
The access from the street is here. That's where the curb cut would be for the driveway or the parking.
So the access is from High Street, not from, it's on High Street.
Right.
And is it above the existing house on High Street or below the existing house? It's above, yeah?
It's above, yeah.
You're coming up from the train station.
You're
right?
coming up, and there's that
Right here.
white house with the
Right.
brick base.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit past that, but before you get to the stair, there's like a grassy area with a couple trees on
Mm-hmm.
it. So they're saying so as you pass that house, you'd pull into the right there. And that would be 2 parking spaces. You go up some stairs and you would access the second apartment. So So is there any, I couldn't, again, I couldn't tell from this plan, there's sort of a tree, is that, can you point to those? Are those affected by the parking? Is that?
These trees wouldn't be affected. We were there this morning, just reviewing the tree situation there because everything is overgrowing, right? Since we started this project over a year ago, trees that were 6 inches might be 8 inches now. There are 2 trees that are they're mature, but they've been chopped and cut probably like 3 or 4 times through their lifetime because of the power line that runs down on High Street. So they're not in their best shape. And then there is other 2 smaller trees that would be affected by the creation of this parking pad.
So of the 20-foot of the 20-foot depth of the parking pad, how many, it's not indicated, how many feet of that would be in the right-of-way? It says 20 feet, but I don't see the distance, like that stairway.
Right, so accounting for the sidewalk, which is 4 feet, right, then I would say it's 15, so it's about 19 feet of what we're building up to the curb, from the property line to the curb.
But all of that is village property.
All of that is village property, but 4 feet of those 19 feet would be a sidewalk.
So 15 feet of the pad itself.
Right.
Will be in the right-of-way?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is it true that this size unit it requires that many additional spots? That's the case? Lorelei, I guess.
That, we have Valerie here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Valerie.
What are the parking requirements, I think?
I have to double check, but I believe it's for a 2-family, for additional unit, I think it's 2 or,
Right, it's two off-street parking per dwelling.
right.
Per dwelling.
Right. There's Appendix C on.
So now, I
section
mean,
2.
the thing is, they can ask for, technically, if this board wants to, you have the ability to waive that, you know?
That's what I was thinking. Instead of doing we could just waive the parking rather than have.
Right, so you can, so you could recommend for a waive of the parking, and I can bring that back to the planning board, and the planning board would seriously take that consideration.
By waiving it, you mean of taking a pile off instead?
No, so you don't necessarily, the MDR ones do not have the pile-up, so this would just be something where the applicant would request a waiver from the parking requirements, and technically, in your code, 270-52E, the planning board does have the ability to waive that, or they could seek a variance.
Or the applicant can propose a fee, to pay a fee.
Right.
Or a sidewalk.
Well, there is a sidewalk proposed,
Right.
but it's really,
That was for the parking.
There is, if I can ask a question, I believe that there is on-street parking on Livingston directly in front of this residence, is that correct?
Yeah, there's alternate side parking.
I mean, so there are some other, you have other provisions in your zoning that allows for, like, you know, an applicant can demonstrate that they have on-street parking. So there is some wiggle room. So if for some reason this board has concerns with potentially these 2 parking spaces, you could, you know, we can pass on a recommendation to the planning board to look at, you know, potentially coming up with some other options for the parking as opposed to actually creating those 2 spaces. But I think the building department, I think John Stone might be online now, but the building department wanted you to take a look at this first because ultimately, depending upon how you decide to maneuver or move forward with the parking, would then directly affect their site plan application.
So I'm interested in other alternatives that, other than this. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but.
I feel the same.
Talk about it.
I
I
agree.
think that adding, you know, yes, it's not organized green space, but it is green space and a large parking pad there. Doesn't feel in character for that street. You know, there is plenty of parking available on Livingston, not that these would be owned reservable parking spots, but there is parking there. I would rather use the street parking that already exists than to pour a lot of concrete.
Jessica, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think there's also, there's tree considerations, and also, I just think it's not just a question of the concrete, it's a question of the concrete in the village right of way. So that just, I mean, we don't have a full picture of the square footage, I don't believe on the plan, that are implicated in this, but it seems like a pretty significant, cutout of village right of way that's currently, pervious.
Nicole?
I agree. I think all other alternatives make sense.
Shari?
I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted, but I don't know I'm not good with spatial relations. So when I'm envisioning High Street, which is the street that leads to the train station, right? So the sidewalk's on the other side.
Yeah.
So there is a sidewalk on the other side for people to walk, so I don't really have any moral objections to them having parking spots there.
Just to quantify it a little bit, so if the gentleman is saying it's 19 feet in and it's going to be wide enough for 2 cars, the minimum parking width is about 8 feet per car, so call it 16 feet. It's a little over, it's about 304 square feet we're talking about.
I just, I mean, this is just a snapshot, but Google Earth, you look at Lower Main Street and all the spots are filled. And then you cross over Walnut and you get to this part of Livingston and there's just a few cars on the street. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of opportunity for on-street parking. And I think, the planning board is always talking about, and we are always talking about like, like whether the parking requirements are a little overly burdensome. So, maybe there's a sort of happy medium that they can recommend. Maybe it's only one. Maybe that gets done on street, maybe it's a pileup, maybe it's, I know we don't do pilots for MDR, but there's some kind of, and I think that there's a number of ways that's beneficial. It's beneficial to the village that we don't use that land, it's beneficial to the applicant, they don't have to undertake the expense of, excavating and building all that. So I don't know, I'm in favor of some kind of on-street parking, compromise.
Larry?
I'm in favor of looking at alternatives. And, the other thing to keep in mind, I believe that the far side of High Street there is free parking nights and weekends. So that there's parking literally right there. So, and I agree with Michael, the expense and the difficulties of them adding, it doesn't seem necessary to me.
Okay, so Valerie, do you want
Pass
to?
that along to the planning board, and we'll have you proceed with your application for the planning board. And we'll,
For waiver.
yeah, and we'll follow up with you
Okay.
tomorrow on
Sorry.
options. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Presentation number 2 concerns 11 Station Plaza Hudson Social.
I'll just give the board a little background. Again, Valerie Menastra, Nelson Pope Voorhees. So this particular application does not require any planning board approvals because it's all interior work. So they're here to present this evening as to what it is that they're proposing to do. And it's more of like for your information, considering it's village-owned property.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Ron DeRusso, 5 Livingston Avenue.
Matt Kay, 58 Main Street in Hastings on Hudson.
We're co-owners of Hudson Social, and we've owned Hudson Social for about 6 years now, and we've always realized there were some deficiencies in terms of how it was originally set up, certainly for a full-service restaurant. We proposed earlier this year to do a large renovation, thank you, that would encompass expanding the kitchen significantly, putting a walk-in freezer behind the kitchen, a walk-in refrigerator behind the kitchen. But the cost of that project, and also revamping the HVAC, cost of that project turned out to be very high. So we're considering this sort of a phase 1 of that project. This particular work would have to be done anyway. As we move forward in time, we hopefully hopefully we'll be able to pick up pieces and do some of the other work that we'd like to do. So the main purpose of what we're asking to do is to remove all of the refrigeration we currently have outside the building. It's a health issue, and we are going to move it to the interior of the restaurant, where the current cafe bar is. So our bar is an L-shaped bar. One side of it is a bar for evening. The other side is the cafe. We would put a wall, we remove the cafe part of the bar, put a wall there, doors on either side, and effectively increase the size of the kitchen. And thus allowing space for refrigeration and also a prep area, which we have a minimal amount of right now. Additionally, would be on the upstairs part of Hudson Social, above the kitchen, so towards the, towards the south end of the building. We would put, we would build a wall and put in refrigeration and storage in that area. Closed off, we'd allow a little space for live music if we ever wanted to. But that's the idea, that's the premise behind what we're doing. I believe Jeff Hinksman has provided plans for this. We don't think it's a huge project. We think it's a matter of a couple of weeks. We'd like to get it done in January if possible, when we're closed the first 2 weeks of January, and make, be able to. One of the things we've had to do to remove the refrigeration is cut down our menu significantly. So this fall we did that, and by doing this work, we would be able to bring back the menu that we had originally, which everyone seems to like.
And it doesn't permanently change the exterior of the building if some future owner were to want to restore it back to a previous state, that would be possible.
There's no work being done in the exterior.
Laura Lee, with regard to the terms of the lease or anything of that nature, what's the legality with that?
There's no prohibition against interior renovations.
Okay.
Exterior ones will require site plan, but they're here to really summarize what's being done. Dan Romer thought it was important for you to understand what they're proposing, so you could give your nod or your wag.
Well, if we gave our wag, what would be?
Yeah. Additionally, we're hoping the work, because it's a village structure, we're hoping the worker, we could perform the work without having, basically not paying permit fees.
That would require resolution.
There you go.
Right, so you're talking about the building permits and all those kind of fees.
We're hoping we don't have to pay the application fee.
Right.
What are those
For
fees?
improving an existing building.
Do you have an estimate of what those fees
Yeah,
would be?
they're usually based upon the price of the project, so
I believe the project was somewhere between $60,000 and $100,000.
So since they're not proposing to start the work until January, we could probably get the figures from Dan Romer. In order to prepare a resolution, you'd really want to know and understand that level, because it is a village-owned property, a village-owned building. It would be appropriate to waive to a certain extent that because you're actually reviewing renovations to your own building.
Okay.
And I would assume that the cost of the new equipment that you're purchasing doesn't apply, I don't believe, so if your whole project is 100, but 40 of it is refrigeration or something, then actually the permit amount is
Yeah, it's basically two
lower.
walls.
Yeah, so the implication potentially is even lower.
Okay, so I think.
We normally waive the fees if it's a village-owned property.
Wait a second.
Voice of John
It's like, wait a
Stone.
He speaks.
John,
Wow, okay, John, so you can say that again? I'm sorry.
We normally waive the fees if it's a village project,
Okay, thank you for sharing.
and a village-owned property.
Okay.
Maybe a hem first next time.
It's the voice of God.
I
Okay,
unmuted too slowly.
okay, so,
But we'd want to know what the cost of that
Right.
would be if you were not going to waive it, and then I could develop a resolution that we could bring forward.
We have our
at your next-
estimates coming in full estimates coming in.
Okay, so we have 2 more meetings before the end of the year, so if you want to get that to us, we could put it on. Okay?
The building
Thank you.
permit fee would be about $2,000
Oh, you're already,
on 100,000.
Thank you,
Well, he's saying
John.
for 100,000, yeah.
Okay, we'll put it on for next time, and then we can make, I don't see it as an issue, but we'll put it on and we'll decide.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Presentation number 3 is regarding 33 Main Street.
So I want to give the board a little bit of an update again. Again, Valerie Menastra from Nelson Tilton Voorhees. I'm your planning consultant. So this one will have, it's going to be a little bit more complex than the last two. This particular application will require village board site plan and AHRB approval. This will also require a recommendation from the planning board. So there would be a resolution to refer the application over to the planning board. But in addition to that, the planning board has to issue a special permit because they're looking to have all residential apartment complex. So that requires a public hearing. So most likely, Lori Lee and I spoke, we're going to probably have to, we might want to coordinate the public hearings for both the site plan and the special permit. That's a little bit later down the line, but there will be that coordination. And then also the applicant will need either zoning variances or a waiver from this board for the size of the affordable housing unit, and then also for the height of the building. It's right now, currently, it could go up to 45 feet. That's assuming that 4th floor, which you've looked at in prior applications, the board decides to move forward with that. And the height variance would need to be, they're proposing 45.17 feet, and the height maximum is 45 feet. So the applicant will present, and then we can talk about steps.
So we're talking about 16 apartments, right?
Yes, and I'll have the applicant talk about it.
What are we deciding, if anything, tonight, Valerie? What are we weighing in on tonight specifically?
Whether you want to move forward with
Just the referral.
So all we're doing is,
secret, you're going to start secret.
Declaring ourselves lead agency, right?
right, well,
But we're not making any
definitive, right,
meeting.
not locking ourselves into.
That's right. It has to go through a full planning review and everything. This is just our initial presentation. Hello, my name is Greg Sharp. I'm an architect based here in Dobbs Ferry. I'm joined here by my client, Joe Vona, who is the owner of the property under Dobbs View Realty. They have owned the property for over 10 years and feel that it is the right time to make this kind of investment in Dobbs Ferry. We're also joined with Joe Cassetta and his wife, who are the builder of this property, of this project. So, as we said, this is a new apartment building, a mixed type apartment building. There's currently 16 rental units and 1 commercial space. There's 15 off-street parking spaces, both market and affordable units. This is considered an infill lot. It's sort of near the train. It's, has certain sort of, connections to below Chestnut of Main Street. It's architecturally, we're proposing to build an industrial loft-like classic proportions type of building. The materials are brick and metal and stucco panel. And I will run you through the plan and what we're proposing and take any questions that you may have. So this would be a view from Main Street. This would be a view also from Main Street, just showing the building from a different direction, showing the proportions and what we are talking about. Let me scroll through the project quickly.
Where is the parking spots accessed from? Is it the back of the building?
That's correct. So I will jump to that. So I'll jump to the site plan first. So it is a challenging site. It's sort of like off a steep cliff on Main Street. And so it has a challenging topography as well as a wall that abuts Main Street. So there will be certain challenges that are associated with it. But we have designed the project accordingly. This is a site plan kind of showing the project from overhead. So what we plan on doing is, let me explain something first. Sorry. So the site slopes about 30 inches from higher on Main Street to lower on Main Street. So we organized the project accordingly. It made sense to have the entrance to the apartments on the high side, and it made sense to have the driving access on the lower side, just as a matter of being able to meet the right ramps and the right, steepness. So our proposal is that we will have a drive on the downhill side, and you will go over this mechanical space below. You'll come around and you'll go into the basement of the building where we will have parking. We'll also have elevator access. We'll also have a trash room down there. We'll also have bicycle parking. We'll also have some EV chargers. And the idea is to make it very utility space for the tenants of the building. On the first floor, we have the residential access to the high side. Another entrance into a hallway. We have a commercial space off to the lower side, and we have like a mechanical maintenance space in the middle that sort of identifies and separates the two forms. We have some rental units across the back, and we also have some additional rental units on the upper floors. So we have a combination of singles, doubles, and I believe we have one triple. So one 3-bedroom unit. We have some efficiency studios, and most of the units, I believe all the units will have a small balcony so that people can go outside and get some fresh air as well. So the idea is to make them very nice units, but affordable units, and a market rate and affordable unit building, with the emphasis on, making them that it's a rental. It's not a, it's not, these are not larger units, so the cost of renting them should be reasonable.
You said you'd need a variance on the size of the affordable units?
There's a couple of units just in trying to really maximize the efficiency of the building that are just a little bit undersized. Certainly in no way like a deficient apartment. I mean, I've lived in a couple of very small apartments in my life, so these I think are better than that. But, it's still something that would need to be justified in the clarification. But we also have some larger size affordable units as well. It's not just the smallest, but it seemed to make, sense to make those affordable units as well.
And obviously, this is not for making decisions here now, but just out of curiosity, as I am the liaison to the Affordable Housing Task Force, and we're delighted to see somebody proposing for affordable units. Is there a length of time that you are willing to maintain them as affordable? And secondarily, is there an AMI target that you're trying to hit?
That would be under your affordable housing. The zoning code has the parameters for that.
Yeah, we'll be following the parameters that are in the code. I mean, that's basically what we state on the drawings and the application that we plan on following the code. I believe, though, that we currently are showing four affordable units, and I think our requirement is either 2 or 3. So we are, trying to help address that, and we are, understanding that. We are asking for certain things, and in exchange, we'd like to work with you guys to do this building. And so that's really our goal, is to have a, positive project and something that will be beneficial to the community.
And I'm sorry, are you designating the studios as the affordable units?
No, not all. No, it's a mix. I'm saying they're not really studios. I mean, I could show you. It'd be like.
No, I'm just trying to understand.
This unit on the end, it's like, it's not really a studio. It's got a bedroom, But, that's, it's just small. It's just a little small, but it has its own bedroom. And would be a great unit, totally nice
I
unit,
mean,
so.
what is the size of, what does a little small mean? I mean, because.
It's 500, it's like 520 square feet. I think the smallest unit, yeah. It's not like
Not like
a
a
300 square foot unit or like a closet.
square
It's
feet,
500 something square feet, which is a fairly decent size. It's just, yeah,
And the minimum is 600.
600, that's right, yeah, 600, so.
It's 520 to 6.
But, we want to, due to the difficulty of the site, due to the difficulty of, doing the project in general, like, we'd really like to maintain these numbers, and we feel that, obviously making the building as efficient as possible, being able to have these units, makes the project doable. So that's really what we're trying to achieve.
And again, your goal tonight is to adopt a resolution that would make this referral to the planning board, and it also makes your referral to the county planning board, and also to start your secret process. And it also recognizes that you're adding a fourth story, which of course is entirely within your purview, and just the heads up on the variance on the actual height as well as that fourth story.
So we referred, Marlita, we refer to the planning board tonight. Are we agreeing to that fourth story, or you're just saying that's something that has to be considered in the public hearings we have with the planning board?
That's correct. You have
That's
to
correct.
build a record, so it would be during the planning board that you would discuss that further, and you would have to build a record based upon the language in your code that would make it appropriate to agree to that fourth story.
And the height variance is 0.17 of a foot, so an inch or two?
No, it's, there's a maximum height,
Right, which is 45.
but the fourth story existence is discretionary.
Right.
So if you do 4 stories, it needs to be under 45 feet.
Right.
This is 46 and change, so it's a foot.
Well, I thought it was 45.
And part of our,
One
heights, it's on a slope. So the idea is, we have to accommodate this slope of the site, and, the idea is we still want,
So
we're
it's
not.
above grade higher on one
Yeah,
side.
we're not building, we still have very normal ceilings, 10-foot floor to floor, which is very common in the construction industry. So we're not raising that up. On the ground floor, I believe we'd like a tad bit taller, but in no way, obscene. So we are sticking within construction standards. And, but I think, the idea is that, we would like to create the nicest building possible. It's like within our scope, within our, budgets, and that's really our intent. And so we want to make sure that the proportions are right, that the detailing is right, that the architecture is right, and that the, unit count and affordability is right, and environmentally, efficient, and everything that we can possibly do to make this a successful project.
We appreciate that.
For the record, it does say in here, unless this is not the whole story, that the height requirement for the 4 stories is 45 feet, and you're proposing 45.17 feet. So that's 2 inches, basically.
Yeah, we're,
I thought you said 1.7. Okay. That's-
45.17
Okay,
feet.
sorry, yeah. I don't think that's really not really the issue, because
Yeah.
I'm sure you can make up a couple inches somewhere.
I mean, the idea is we know that there's obviously a lot that has to get worked out. And so, the idea is let's, the big picture is the big picture. I mean, this is what we want to propose, and, we can obviously work out the inches here and there, but like I said, it's a 30-inch drop from the top to on the slope. It's a steep lot, if anyone is familiar with the property. I mean, this is a real construction challenge, and so, like I said, we want to make sure that, we have all these details correct, but, this is our proposal.
Okay, so without deciding or making any kind of, any decision regarding the height of the building and the 45th floor, are we ready to pass this along and?
Yeah, in your final whereas, it
I don't see
recognizes
that.
that.
Where is that resolution?
It's in your packet.
Where? I didn't see it in my.
I don't see it either.
It's actually the first page.
First page.
The first page of the materials for this application. The first page is the proposed resolution.
Page 46 of the PDF.
it just recognizes that they're also going to require this special permit for the multifamily, and also that you need to build a record for the fourth story. So it says that right in the last whereas clause.
Yeah, and the fourth story is the building across the street is much taller and 4 stories. And there's
And you can make that testimony during the
somewhere
public
else.
hearing.
Okay, all right, you got it.
During the public hearing, it would be helpful to have the comparison photos
Okay,
and the
yeah.
information, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think there may be a major concern with the height of the building, but again, we want to work with you as far as we can, so essentially, we're going to pass it along, and then we can deal with the height and other variances and things of that nature, right?
Thank you.
You can schedule that joint public hearing together, and then you can talk it through with the planning board as well.
Okay.
I hope also that you'll, like, just since you're going to be preparing for this, also to help us and the other boards understand the implications for Palisades Street of the back of the building, which is many feet taller than the front of the building, given
Yeah.
the street level. So that would be very helpful to have a reference.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll provide additional renderings and view studies and things like that.
Okay, so is there a motion to declare the Village of Dobbs Ferry Board of Trustees as the lead agency for the environmental review of the project in accordance with SECRA, and for the Board of Trustees to refer this for comment and recommendation on the site plan application to the Dobbs Ferry Planning Board as required by the zoning code, and refer to the Westchester County Planning Board in accordance with general municipal law? Is there a motion? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. We'll see you again, that's for sure.
Thank you.
I hope so.
The first meeting at the planning board is generally a pre-application discussion, so they don't open a public hearing until the next meeting after that. So you'll have time to coordinate with the planning board on probably longer than that. Thanks, Valerie.
Thank you.
Looked all over for it. I could not find it. I was like, where is it?
And he's aware that he's
was in the
opening and then
Not here. It's the other.
Okay, next presentation is on 33 May,
Oh,
33.
33
you're done.
We're on the
Public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing to consider amending Chapter 290 Vehicle and Traffic Law of the Village of Dobbs Ferry? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? Public hearing is now open. Valerie, do you want to talk? Valerie's
really.
gone.
No.
Liz, Laura Lee,
Yeah, I
you
can
want to talk
discuss
about
this,
it?
yes. This was a request by the Department of Public Works, because right now the parking is prohibited, the length of, believe it or not, Livingston in the code, so they wanted to add this street to your alternate side streets, so there would be a schedule and availability for the DPW to do street cleaning. Now, there was a issue with the legal notice for this, so you can open this hearing and discuss the matter, but you'll have to eventually adjourn it to your next meeting on the 26th before you can close it and take action.
Okay, do anybody here, any of the trustees want to discuss this?
We can discuss it next time. If there was a notice issue, this isn't the purpose to have people here to hear our discussion.
It was the legal notice, that's all, the publication of the legal, but
Does
the
anybody
other.
here from the public want to speak about it? Come on up.
Ron DeRusso, 55 Livingston Avenue. Good, two items in one meeting. Currently, the parking on Livingston is, the easterly side is permitted. The westerly side, which doesn't allow for street cleaning, and I understand that. The westerly side is no parking Monday through Friday between 9 and 12, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So they're already achieving street cleaning part on the westerly side of Livingston Avenue. By making it alternate side on both sides of the street, I understand making it alternate side on the easterly side, but doing it on the westerly side, basically people will be parking there for the entire week. leaving the cars there until they have to move for one day. Also, you are taking commuters, which would normally be paying for spots in the lot, and putting them up on Livingston Avenue. So that's just my concern.
You're saying because one side of the streets, there's no parking every day?
Every day.
So was that why you didn't see any cars?
Actually, the problem is that the signage does not match what the code provisions say. The code provision says there's no parking at all at any time. So they're trying to make this change so it reflects the need for the street cleaning. We have Mr. Trezza here if he had comments and whatever broader understanding there was.
So currently, it's no parking or at least the signage
The
says
signage does not
Monday
match
through
the code.
Friday, but we're not,
You'll be ticketed.
but we're clearly not doing street cleaning, right? 5 days a week for 3 hours, right?
Also, one side of the street is swept, the other side of
Right.
But
Only
is
one
it,
side
is
of
it
the
done every Monday through Friday?
That's when it's done, everybody gets done twice a week.
That's twice a week. But currently, the signage says Monday through Friday, so 5 times.
Say Monday and Friday.
Monday through Friday.
But why is it closed 5 days a
I
week?
don't know.
So there's no reason, according to the DPW, for there to be 15 hours of closure on that side of the street, is that correct? Okay, so I think
Well, wait,
Wait,
Yeah, wait.
okay, well, I'm just responding to Mr. DeRusso's, your experience of that is based on,
Since I've lived there.
right, so the current state of affairs is that one side of the street is never cleaned and one side of the street is marked for cleaning 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, but is cleaned twice. Okay, just so we understand the state.
And I just said to trustee Patino, is this the same street that we just told that woman there's plenty of parking on? But obviously, if he didn't see cars in the Google map, then it could be because that
no,
sign says there's no
there all
parking.
the time, there's spots there.
So setting that aside, so does anyone know why that current state of affairs says that there's no parking there 5 days a week?
No, the sign is wrong. So,
Sign is wrong.
yeah,
Can we
the
change it?
code, well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to match the reality with the code.
Okay.
Okay,
But the code says that there should be no parking there at any time, Monday through Friday, or 9 to 5 at least.
From
Monday
9 to
through
12.
Friday. 9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Code says Monday, right?
Monday to Friday. That's what the code says, but the sign on Livingston itself doesn't match what the code said. That's the.
What does the
That's
sign
the
say?
conflict.
As Mr. DeRusso just explained,
The sign says no parking Monday through Friday from 9 to 12.
But you're saying that that's what
That's
the
what
code
Laura Lee
says.
said. Yeah, that's what the code says right now.
What does the code say right now, Lori?
there's no truck or other
There,
commercial
it's in the-
vehicle parked on either side of the street for the entire length. No parking on either side of Livingston Avenue between the hours of 9 and 12.
From Monday through.
Monday through Friday.
So it
No-
does match.
It says no parking.
It matches the east side, it doesn't match the west side.
No,
Or
Correct.
it matches the east
west
side.
But doesn't match the east side. The
That is
east side
correct.
is permit right now.
Gotcha, okay.
So that's my contention, that the east side should also probably match the west side, as opposed to an alternate.
So we have permit parking for a portion of road for which there is no parking.
say that again?
Okay.
Say that again.
We have people with parking permits for a portion of road for which the code says there is no parking.
At least for 3 hours, Monday to Friday.
For 3 hours, Monday through Friday, either side of the street.
But, and without, at least, looks like we have other speakers, but at least as of now, we don't understand why it's blocked off for those 3 hours, Monday through Friday.
Okay, so Mr. DeRusso will cede his time. You're done?
I think so.
Okay, come on up.
3 minutes.
No, he did, I know.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, thank you for hearing this. AJ Dobbs, 38 Livingston Avenue. I've been there 23 years, and a pleasure to have around as a neighbor. The parking issue is really kind of an interesting one. On the west side, which is what Ron was speaking about, the reason there is no parking there is because people were coming from area towns or within our town and parking there every day and walking down to the train.
Right.
And it became a huge issue because it really wasn't fair to the village when we had available permits, and yet we had people parking right there. And it also became sort of a congestion problem with, we all know from all the streets meeting and everyone unfortunately running the stop signs to get to the train and so forth. The other issue really is that on the east side of the street, it's never cleaned, oops, excuse me, beyond a certain point. And I want to say that the DPW does an amazing job of cleaning and snow removal. This isn't anything against them, it's just they don't have access to clean the street on that portion, and it's never cleaned. And in the winter, what happens is people shovel around their cars and there's snow built up and the snow is never, they're never able to remove it. And again, it's not a problem that they don't want to, it's just they don't have access to do it. And it becomes more and more of a problem.
You say
Additionally,
they don't have access, why don't they have access?
because there's cars parked there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Got it.
Oh, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
It's not
Thank
an
you.
alternate side.
It's not alternate side, so there's no
Cars
sign.
just sit there.
Correct, and they sit there for weeks.
Wow.
The same cars sit there, they're dusty, they're filthy, they have flat tires, they just sit there.
And they have permits.
Yes, I do, yeah, Mr. Borelli lives there too. And so once a week, every Monday, I go down to Scaparato's Deli with 2 green gloves on my hand and a garbage bag, and I pick up diapers and all kinds of McDonald's. I'm not even going to tell you the other things I picked up, which are absolutely despicable, and cans of empty beer and soda, because the DPW doesn't have access to it. It's not their fault. But the reason this sort of came about is we asked that the DPW please look at this, that there's no cleaning on that side of the street. And it's not really that the whole street has to be reevaluated, I think, but on the east side of the street between 9 and 12, if they could simply make that area no parking, it could be cleaned via the street swept, and in the winter, the roads plowed, and it would just be safer for everyone, and people out there shoveling and people racing to the train. It's unbelievable, the bedlam there.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, you want no parking from 9 to 12 on that side of the street as it is on the other side of the street?
Well,
Right?
that seems to make sense,
Okay,
so someone
just
could
wanna make
clean
sure.
it. Yes, but
And
I'm just
that-
explaining why, I'm sorry.
Local
Because there was a
law says.
question, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, there was a question of why,
Hey, no, I'm glad,
Yeah.
no, you filled it all in, that's great.
yeah.
And
Okay.
you want this
but-
every day or just one day for street sweeping?
Well, ideally, the reason they made the one side of the street, the west side of the street, no parking, was simply because of the commuter issue. And then,
Why would that
I
apply?
I think the other side of the street is also kind of a problem with that. But that's up to the board to analyze it. But at least one day a week, it would be great to have it cleaned for the sweeping and the snow removal, which is the other half of the equation.
Okay,
Just, so thank you for listening, everyone. We appreciate it.
no problem.
I don't know if, I think Al Borelli,
Is there no snow removal provision in the code that?
No, it depends on the street.
Depends
Like
on, I can't park on
some
my
streets
street when
have,
it
you know,
snows.
because they're a critical.
And if they declare snow
Let's
emergency,
just hear
there's certain
Mr. Borelli
streets
so
you
we
can't
can-
park on.
Thank you for hearing us tonight. My name is Al Borelli. I live at 62 Livingston Avenue. The parking on the west side of the street is from the corner, maybe 300 feet up, and that's all permit parking. And there's really no problem with it, other than you just can't clean the street. So if we could just remove that permit parking for a few hours, then we can just clean the street. We don't need to change everything on the street. We just need to have street cleaning in that permit parking area. To me, that seems to be the simple way of doing it. One day a week, 9 to 12, you could just clean the street there.
But that, the local law is proposing on the easterly side of Livingston Avenue, no parking on Monday between the hours of 9 and 12. That's what,
That's fine.
and then the local law is saying no parking on the westerly side on Tuesday between the hours of 9 and 12.
Yeah, but I have a concern about their point about commuters, because, you know, we've received complaints about commuters doing that on Palisades again. where they're coming from either New Jersey or other towns or even in Dobbs Ferry and parking there instead of the lot for a permit or metered spots. And these aren't metered either. So if we completely uplift the restriction on the parking, I think you're going to see a lot more commuters parking on Livingston because it's super easy to get to the train from there very quickly.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I mean, that's part of the problem.
So I think to the extent, I mean, I think it makes sense to have both sides be available for street cleaning. But that's the way the code kind of reads now, and so I don't know why we're not enforcing it and allowing people on the easterly side just to park 24/7 instead of saying you're not allowed to park there 9/12. And I don't see in here, unless there's somewhere else, why there's permits on the easterly side of Livingston in general. Like, who's giving permits and on what basis?
Yeah, why wouldn't the same permit structure work on both sides?
I think this,
don't
this might be part of the residential permit system.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Which is the home
I
rule.
thought it was only, I thought that was only
So why
Palisades.
couldn't it
Okay.
just be?
So it would only be-
same Permit, why couldn't you just say permit only? Why do we need to have this 9 to 12, like, to respond to to Trustee Sullivan, the 9 to 12 thing to prevent commuters from using the streets? Wouldn't making it permit only on that, if it is already permit only on that block, wouldn't that take care of the commuter issue?
The permit is part of the home rule legislation. So only residents can get this permit. Residents who have addresses can get this
And
permit.
it's not on both sides?
But not residents who live on Livingston Avenue. No, that part is, that code has changed about a year ago.
Yeah, remember we had that issue where.
Kind of
It should be residents,
It's a
and there are
central
some
park.
residents that do park there.
Right, central business permit on the easterly side of the street was from the old legislation.
So there is no current permit-only parking on Livingston, it's just that people are still acting like there is? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, so since we have to hold
We need
this
to
up.
look into
Yeah,
this
yeah,
more.
we have to, since we have to hold this over anyway, there's a lot of other issues evidently that have to be involved in it. So I'm going to ask, the residents could reach out to Rob. Rob, raise your hand. Rob's the contact person. Rob, you could work with Laura Lee on this and get more information as to the home rule permit, why it's on one side, not the other, and why can't we do what's done on Palisades as far as the street cleaning there? I mean,
We need to
that's
deal with-
permit also, right?
Street cleaning, home rule, and
But some of it's
and
permit, some of it's in the
ensuring
home rule.
that folks aren't using it as a commuter lot, basically. So that's 3 different issues that need to be tackled.
Say it again.
Street cleaning, once a week on each side of Livingston.
That's what it says. The new law.
Oh, yeah, we
I
know.
understand that. That
Enumerating
needs
the
to be
issues.
addressed. The second thing that needs to be addressed is whether there are any existing permit issues related to the home rule that only apply to one side that would affect the following third point, which is mitigating use of this street as a commuter lot, which we want to prevent. My point is, leaving a 3-hour-a-day parking ban on one side of the street in place just because there isn't a home rule permit there, which seems to be kind of what we've inherited, is not like we should make it so that it can't be used as a commuter lot in a smart way that lines up with the rest of our.
Okay, so Livingston is not part of the residential parking permit.
Okay,
So then
well,
how is there permits there?
Then
So
there
I just want a question about how there's anybody.
So what kind of permit, it's part of it used to be part of the central business?
It used to be
But
part
it
of the
is not
center.
now, so therefore now there are no permits.
There are no
Nope.
permits on that street now.
Oh, okay. that
Or
was-
no
we need
there
to
is a
figure out
closed
how to
street.
prevent it from
So
being
the
used
9
as
to
a commuter
12
lot.
is the blunt instrument way of
Right.
doing
But I
that.
don't think that was intentional.
Right, but
That
it's,
is the
Yeah.
implication.
It's a bigger issue than that. All right,
And,
so
yeah,
let's
the-
talk
To
about
address
that.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, understood.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank
Listen,
you.
just on the paper, it seemed pretty simple, but, all right, thank you. Oh, so I need a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Yes, to the 26th of November.
Right.
Specifically, you have to say that, and then we'll make sure that all of the notices have been published.
Wait, does someone else want to speak about this issue? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn this public hearing to the November 26th Board of Trustee meeting? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. Meaning this public hearing is hereby adjourned. We haven't even got to the resolutions yet.
I'm well aware of that.
Courtesy of the floor, who would like to speak? What up?
Good evening, Betty Lynch, 75 Beacon Hill Drive, also member of the Dobbs Ferry Human Rights and Diversity Committee. Just wanted, excuse me, to follow up with the trustees, the emails we sent out that we are doing a listening circle for the mayor, committee members, and 2 trustees next Tuesday, November 19th. We haven't really heard back other than from one trustee. We're not sure who will be able to attend from the trustees, in addition to the mayor and the committee members. So we're just hoping to get some clarification on that for next Tuesday. The session would be from 7 to 9 p.m. We don't have the venue yet. I did leave a message for Mr. Yamuter to advise us what space might be available, either here or at the Embassy Center.
We can make either of those available, I believe, right? So whatever's easier for you, for the village. And we do need another trustee to attend this event. I think some of the trustees said they're not available.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm traveling.
Is there
I'll be in
any-
California that day, coming back.
Is there any trustee who is available?
Oh, I'm doing it.
Right, and I'm doing it.
Not available that evening.
Matt's doing it.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
I'm out of town.
Okay. Okay, we'll see you then.
Eventually, the
Betty.
plan
What time
is,
is
just,
it?
I'm just going
I
to
just
add to
get
this,
on my
that eventually the
calendar.
plan is that all of
7
us
to 9?
will do this, so.
It's 7 p.m. on Tuesday, the 19th.
Yes, as trustee Rosen Asher said, the event, the plan is for all the trustees to partake.
We said, we understand that.
All right, for the next one, yeah.
And
Thank you,
I'll
Betty.
check on the availability of the venues. Thank you.
Come on up.
Thank you. I'm Jason Macias from 193 Clinton,
Michael Barron, 102 Ogden.
and I'm the president, and he's the vice president of Dobbs Ferry Little League. So we're here to kind of bring forward some plans for the spring season of 2025. We've held a significant amount of fundraising activities in order to fundraise for a new scoreboard for Memorial Field. We're in a position now where we can make the purchase of the scoreboard for Memorial Field, and we were hoping to bring this up, obviously, because Memorial Field is a village park, and I know we've had some private conversations before here, but wanted to bring it up officially as we're looking to try to get the scoreboard in place before the ground freezes, in order to have it ready for the spring. If you don't know, the scoreboard has been around for quite some time, well before the 10 years I've been here. It hasn't been functioning for at least properly for the last 2 to 3 years, and has now completely not worked at all this year. So we're just hoping to replace that. It's about a $10,000 capital expense that we've privately raised funds to do to improve the field. I don't know, Mike, you want to say something? No. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for your involvement and your volunteering. I think we did see a picture that was circulated. I don't know, did the Parks and Rec Committee discuss this at all?
The Parks and Rec Commission discussed the scoreboard, and the Little League had sent over pictures, and they're generally in favor of the Little League purchasing and donating a new scoreboard, and they appreciate it. There is a dedication above the existing scoreboard, and so they had questions about that dedication, and we have to reach out to the family.
So I know, I saw 2 versions, one with the name on it, one without.
But I think the way it currently is, and you guys are down there more than I am now, but I think it's the scoreboard, and then above it is the dedication. It's not part of the same thing. So I don't think they go hand in hand. So I think it makes sense to just have the scoreboard, and then the Parks and Rec Commission were asking questions about, a lot of people who are in the Little League now don't know who that is and why it's dedicated to that person. So does it make sense to have a plaque maybe with some more history on there, or something in a different place at Memorial Field to honor that person? And so they had some follow-up questions that we have to go over with the family. But I don't think that should impede the scoreboard issue, as long as it's not going to take down that name until we figure that solution out, which probably can be done before we want to install it, but I can't promise anything.
Yeah, there was just some logistical if we had to engrave it on the scoreboard, there's some logistical issues with doing that and cost associated with it. So if there is a solution to have that dedication or naming dedication on either a separate plaque or in a separate area on a separate, what I would say,
Isn't it separate now, Jason?
it's kind of on top of
So you're
it.
saying you have to remove, it's separate, Stephen? Right, so
Yeah,
so like you don't have to remove it. Even if you have to remove it, you can reinstall it
right, or,
easily.
exactly.
Right.
But-
I mean, I don't think you need to incur the cost on the actual scoreboard, but we can talk to the family, you know, as soon as we can and see what the solution is.
Okay.
So just before we tell you, go ahead with it, is there anything, we have to do a resolution to accept this as a gift, Laura Lee, or?
I haven't seen an estimate, but yeah, we'd have to accept a resolution to, once you've determined what the design is, and, you know, and you're amenable to a new school board as opposed to repairing the existing one or doing whatever you need to do, then, yeah, much like the last very generous donations from the Little League, we would need the estimate and the proposal and that information.
Okay, so let's put that on, I'm sure you can get that. I've seen the pictures of it, and I'm sure you have that. So if you could send that to the village, so we could put it on for the next meeting. It sounds like you can do the scoreboard without the name on it, and then we could keep the way it is for now, and then talk about some other kind of a dedication, right?
Yeah, it might stay the same, or they might want to do something different.
Okay, does that answer your question?
That does. So there's one more kind of situation that we want to kind of manage if we can, and that's the field, so itself. So we're going to have to make some improvements to the field. So if you all recall, Bill Kelly, my predecessor, we had raised a significant amount of money, actually $81,000 to do the entire field, which we did 2 years ago, and we finished it in December of 2022. With that, we had the original installers of the field itself maintain that field for a period of time, which was a year, and then no longer maintaining it. Our proposal is we went back to see what maintenance improvements we would need to make to the field because the condition of the grass, it's dying or pretty much dead at this point. And when we went to get that estimate was way more than we thought it would be. That estimate was around $50,000 in order to basically resod the outfield because the grass is dead. And so what we were hoping for is to kind of, one, have a discussion about replacing that outfield grass, and two, about having a discussion about sharing some of the responsibilities for maintaining the field itself in order to do on top of what DPW is doing to maintain the field, in order to weed, fertilize, pick out crabgrass, reseed at certain periods of time in order to kind of maintain the sod itself so that we're not in a situation where we've made a capital improvement to that field that we now need to redo.
So are you suggesting either volunteers do all that, or you hire?
No, we would hire the people who did the field. So the individuals who actually did the field did those kind of the reseeding, the picking of the crabgrass, the fertilizing in order to ensure that the grass was not getting weeds and dying. That, I think, are kind of improvements or maintenance improvements on top of what we would expect, our DPW normally to have to do.
In addition to let's say they just mow the lawn.
Right, exactly. In addition to mowing the lawn, having somebody kind of do those type of activities in order to ensure that grass is maintained.
So because of our union contracts, that may be an issue, but and maybe you've done this already, I haven't seen it, and I apologize if you've already done it. Can you give us a proposal from the person who laid it and what they suggested to be done and how it's over and above what we already do? And then we can take it to our labor attorney, who could take it to the unions, and then they could decide. We can discuss it, and then we'll get back to you and see how that goes.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it.
Appreciate everything you guys do.
We're willing to incur the cost of maintenance on that field as well, like we did in that first year. So if we could get that done, we would not ask the village to pay for that maintenance.
Okay, I'm glad you made that clear, and you could put that in the proposal, that would be great.
Yep,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, we avoided an issue with the unions the last time because it was during the warranty period of that sod, so we were
Right,
able
but
to.
this may be over and above
It
normal maintenance.
definitely would be.
So, okay. we'll go
Yeah,
for it.
this would be over and above normal maintenance.
Right, just not more than mowing and whatever.
Correct.
Okay, let's make that clear and have that laid out.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Wait, Luke.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. Luke Mullen, resident of Dobbs Ferry. I know this was last month, however, I am honored to be a member of the Ferry Festa Committee and first time assisting with it for this year as a member of that committee. I'm interested in knowing about anything else that comes up on the agenda in town, like for events that I could help out with. I do have a couple of questions, though. Are there any other construction projects taking place in the village? There are construction questions, because I see every time when I'm on the Ardsley Road there, it's always that route is in construction. So I'm just curious, how much does it cost the annual village taxpayer? Are these questions for the village administrator to answer, or for me to ask him and he can answer? I'm just a little concerned about how much it may cost, like regarding like a overall budget and taxes. It's a little inconvenient too, to be honest, for the construction that's happening all the time, for a person who's on the road.
Thank you for volunteering for Ferry Festa. We appreciate all the volunteers and your interest. And that's definitely a question for the village administrator. You could send him an email asking for more detail, the better, and then he can review it and get back to you on what the outstanding projects are, and maybe even the estimated costs of those projects. Okay?
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Do keep in mind that some of those projects are not village projects, they're utility projects.
And they're announced in the village newsletter, and the responsible party is also explained in that newsletter. So if an announcement goes out about street closures, you'll see that it's Veolia or it's Con Ed or other entities that have to make those improvements, and they're obligated to do that, and they're paying for it.
Which one is, what
If you
utility?
sign up for the village newsletter on dobbsferry.gov,
Oh, yes, no, I do that, but.
yes, so those street closures get announced. So
Yes.
we try to mitigate any,
Yes, but a utility project, what does that mean?
so like water or sewer or electrical or gas line upgrades, those all have to be dealt with by utility companies.
Oh, okay, thanks, Mayor Trustee.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Okay, let's move forward with the resolutions. Is there a motion to authorize the Department of Public Works to declare a 2005 Ford pickup truck as surplus equipment? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Is there a motion to authorize the Dobbs Ferry Youth Services Council to host the annual holiday hustle on Sunday, December 15th, 2024, and authorize the street closure along the race route between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m.? Trustee Sullivan, second.
Hang on, didn't we have a problem with this?
The
Was it
church, yeah.
Yeah, because people were trying to go to church and they could not do so
Check with Zion.
because
I don't know
the
what else to
streets
do
were
if we're
closed.
having
Get a huge
holiday hustle.
problem with
We're
the
not
church.
going to change.
I just think that there should be notification. I think part of their issue was that they weren't notified. I think
Right, they weren't
there were
notified.
even residents, when I was running on Broadway, complaining because on Broadway, they get stopped at Maple or Belden so that the runners can come on to Broadway, and people were cursing at the police officers. I don't know if Officer Betts was there or not, but it was pretty unseemly, so maybe we can just push more notifications out about what streets will be closed from what time.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Officer Betts, South Street Police. So I will take personal responsibility for notifying all the churches this coming year. I think last year it was mainly the Zion Church, which is on Cedar Street, that had an issue with it. Notifications, we attempted to make notification to them, but, this year I will make it my personal responsibility to go to the church and make sure everybody knows about it. Even though it's every year around the same time, I'll make sure of it.
Thank you.
Okay, so make a note that on November 12th, 2024, at 8, whatever,
Yes.
Officer Betts said he will make it his personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks. So trustee Sullivan, second, trustee Patino, all in favor. That passes unanimously. And we look forward to trustee Sullivan running
Anyone
the
can join
race
me.
again.
Mayor, I thought you were running this year.
You run, don't you?
I do run. Why did he put air quotes on
He
it?
did it, I wasn't.
I ran in the first
I
one
saw
and I've
you.
ran in
I saw
most
you
of
run,
them.
I'll
And
be
in
in
costume.
Argentina.
Mr. Mayor, I thought you were running this year in your Santa suit.
No, trustee Patino rides in a motorcycle in his Santa suit.
Cheater.
Maybe trustee,
You
she'll
must
be
have been
trustee then.
mistaking
Maybe
them for
trustee
each
Nell will
other.
do it. Oh.
I have a Mrs. Claus, if anyone would
There
like
you
to
go.
ride on the back.
Is there a motion to authorize the closure of portions of Cedar and Main Street for the 2024 Holiday Light Parade and Tree Lighting Event to be held on Saturday, December 7th, 2024? Trustee Galen, second, trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. That passes unanimously. That was a great event, first time last year, great event. It's now quickly become a holiday tradition at Dobbs Ferry. Action item number 4, is there a motion to award the bid for the Seneca Street Culvert Replacement Project to Peter J. Landy in the amount of $365,500? Trustee Rosenasher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Before I move
This is
on,
a FEMA
before I
project.
move on, I'm just going to say,
This is a
could you
FEMA project.
explain the money's coming
Yes,
from? And I
this
know
is-
it's been a long time coming.
This is the
but it's-
portion of the Seneca culvert that was removed following the storm event. It's the removed portion, so we have to replace it in kind, and this will create a continuous back lawn, the individual's home, and this is being paid by FEMA proceeds. The other part was paid, as you know, we got money directly from the dormitory authority for the other portion. That was a relining. This is a replacement because that part of the culvert was removed in order to get the water flow during the storm.
And Rob, when can we expect the work to actually start?
Thank you. Yeah, once the bids are in place and we get the approval by the board tonight, we can set the stage to have the contractor have a kickoff meeting, make sure his insurances and bonds are in place. And I was assured that could happen next month,
Okay, so
starting early next month.
We'll need a license agreement because the easement does not run to the property line. So the license agreement was actually prepared and presented, and we haven't received it back. I will reach out again. The homeowner is represented by counsel, and I keep trying to remind the council that we don't have that back, but we'll need access to the easement and for purposes of the construction.
Okay. So just keep everyone advised as you have been doing, okay? Action item number 5, and Jeff, this is going to be you, a little background on this. We're going to create a capital reserve fund.
Correct. It's, excuse me, a type capital reserve fund instead of like a very specific project. I'm proposing a type for facilities improvements or replacements. And I'm proposing funding up to $10 million.
So this is like a bank savings account?
Correct.
It's not just for like maintenance or improvements of existing facilities, it could be for new
Construction,
facilities?
exactly,
Okay,
yes.
just checking.
Yes.
Can you share how you arrived at that number?
The number
Mhm.
is just an estimate.
But you're not talking about funding it at that level immediately? You're
Not
talking
right
about
now, no, right, over.
what the statutory
over time.
limit to that
Correct.
fund would be?
Correct, over time. So that's the ultimate total funding that you're authorizing. That could be changed, that could be expanded, or add, or, a separate, another type reserve created.
Is there a different, like, interest rate or something else that applies to a fund like this? As opposed to
So-
just- I know we can't really have like a I understand we can't have like a pocket of our budget that's kind of general use, but can you kind of explain what the like hard implications of setting aside this money are for the village?
So once you set this money aside, it is reserved specifically for that type of project, a facility project, like a building or whatnot. Once it's been put into that pot, it really can't be pulled out for another reason. It could be reallocated to another capital project if needed. Looking at a potential fire or emergency services and, the projects potentially at Gould, I don't think that would be an issue. The idea behind having the capital reserve is to get fund balance and a savings account created so that we could reduce potentially the bonding of the project in the future, which in turn saves the interest expense for the village taxpayers.
And what would where would this money exist if it didn't go into this?
It's sitting currently in fund balance, in unrestricted fund balance.
So what's the benefit of moving it out of unrestricted fund balance into this?
So you have a policy that says that your unrestricted fund balance has a floor of 10% of the budget and a ceiling of 15%. Right now, we're sitting above that 15%. So this is an attempt to get you within your board policy, within the policy.
So because the village is in such good
Correct.
fiscal sound footing,
Yep.
there is surplus to put in a
Correct.
account like this.
Correct.
Thanks for explaining that.
And how much do you estimate to put in there in the first go-around?
So the next resolution is 1.2. That was an early estimate of mine. I've since got the audited financials. I would propose actually putting 1.6. 1.6.
Really?
Yeah, and that will bring fund balance unrestricted to about 13%.
Okay. So we're doing 1.2 now. You're saying we should amend this now?
I would ask to amend that to 1.6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jeff. I know this was a long time coming, so appreciate doing the work to get it.
Absolutely.
Wish my personal finances were doing it. Okay, so is there a motion to establish a type capital reserve fund to be known as the Facilities Capital Reserve Fund? Trustee Rosenasher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. That leads us to the next item. I'm going to amend that resolution to the amount of $1.6 million. So is there I have to make a motion to amend it?
No, you can pass it as amended.
Okay.
You can ask for a motion to pass it as amended.
Okay, so is there a motion to pass as amended a resolution to contribute to the Facilities Capital Reserve Fund in the amount of $1.6 million? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you again, Jeff. Action item number 7, is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign an agreement with the Student Assistance Services for 1 year for the period of September 30th, 2024 through September 29th, 2025, in the amount of $44,665 to be paid from the federal grant monies received for the Youth Services Council? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? This passes unanimously. I believe this is the last year for this, right, Jeff?
Correct.
10th year.
Year 10.
Yeah, time flies. I've been here since the beginning. It's amazing. Okay, action item number 8. Rob, do you want to give a little background on that?
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor. Basically, I'm asking the board to consider the resolution urging the New York State court system to pause the implementation of the state centralized arraignment plan as laid out behind. You can actually see the resolution similar to what was adopted in Yorktown. I think Chief Guevara is out of town at the moment. I don't know if you have any specific questions about the actual
Could you describe the centralized arraignment plan?
Yeah, so I think the issue is this, we had discussed this at the VOC meeting as well, and Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The fear of doing this is that now all the arraignments are currently done here. Someone gets arrested here, they're taken to across the hall, and they're arraigned here. So the officers don't have to be in the car traveling to different locations. I think the proposal is for there to be a centralized place, White Plains, I believe,
White Plains.
where the arraignments, all the arraignments will be done. So that will require our police force to transport the person from here to White Plains.
And you always need at least 2 police officers to do that.
You need 2 officers to.
And wait for them there, too.
They have to wait for the arraignment to be held, and then the person gets released in White Plains, so a Dobbs Ferry resident who got arrested for whatever, it gets released on their own recognizance in White Plains, is left on their own in White Plains to get back to Dobbs Ferry, and the police officers had to wait also for the arraignment to be held. So the feeling.
But does it help relieve a burden on our court system at all to centralize it?
I think, so far from what I understand, and I don't know if we haven't spoken to the judge, but as far as the judges, him or the other judges available for the arraignments, they'll call him at his house and he will come here and do the arraignments.
And if they're not available, they'll go to the next
Right.
village court.
Go to
then.
Ardsley or
Yes.
to Hastings.
So
We
it's
have-
possible that sometimes the police are taking people somewhere else anyway.
It's possible, I don't know how often that happens, but this, yeah, that is
So,
possible.
so the ostensible benefit of a plan like this is the speed at which you have your arraignment and the court-appointed attorney, right? So the idea, I'm trying to understand why this would be beneficial. It's beneficial because then there's a central location, they have
Where everyone is.
dedicated court-appointed attorneys there, which we don't have. Right, so the idea is that this would help process things faster, but we're saying that in Dobbs Ferry, we don't have some of those problems. Like, this may benefit some
Well, it
places,
also
but doesn't
creates
necessarily benefit
a
others.
public safety problem, which is we have to take 2 officers off of their tour for a certain amount of time, possibly not an inconsiderable amount of time. That's,
And it could also, I don't know, like what happens if you have 2 or 3 arraignments? Like, does that mean we have to have 4 or 6 officers going to court on the same day?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And plus the liability of driving back and forth, adding up the mileage, the more mileage you do, the more open to risk.
How many arrests do our police officers make a year?
Arrests?
Arrest?
I mean,
I'm
just
saying,
on
like, how
domestic
many-
violence, there's 400 charges a year. I don't know.
I'm just wondering how many times they're taking somebody to be arraigned, that's all. Like, I'm just wondering, like, is this once a week? Is it
Yeah.
15 times a day? Like, I have no concept of what this means, so I don't really feel prepared
Is
to
there a need to?
vote
do
on it
this
one way.
today
I was
without
gonna
the
say, there's
chief?
no, right, we don't have to do this today. And anyway, we're not, really doesn't have any force of law. All we're doing is saying, we're urging them not to do it. So we really don't have any, we can't stop it
Right.
from happening. So we could put this over until next time when the chief is
I'd just
back.
like to
You know, it'd be nice to hear from
Yeah, I would think it'd be good
Judge
to hear from him.
Koenigsberg.
Yeah, we should have.
It sounds like it makes a lot of sense. I just have no context or
Right.
understanding of
That's
stuff.
Like
I
I said,
can
whatever
request-
we're doing, we can't force them
Another
to stop
unfunded
it.
mandate by the state, basically, that's what
Yep.
this is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an
Exactly.
unfunded mandate by the state.
I just wish
And
the
it's gonna,
chief
and
was
it's gonna,
here.
like, we already have issues with like officers not being available for traffic control, not traffic control, traffic stops and stuff, traffic enforcement, thank you. And this is gonna make that even less than it is now because they're just gonna be more involved with this stuff.
The
There's no
chief,
problem.
I can tell you the chief is adamant that this is
Adamant.
a terrible idea and would be very
But
difficult.
again, this is
for
just
jobs to-
urging the court system.
Well, it's
so-
also, it's urging them to consider what the Westchester County chiefs are saying about their concerns about doing this. So if we're just, we're backing up our chief saying, can you please listen to us? Doesn't mean that they're going to agree with us and ultimately do it or not do it. It's just, can you make sure you hear these concerns and consider them
Correct.
in making this decision? And so I don't see any reason why we can't do that, but.
Yeah, we'll just put it over to next time, that's all.
Is there
Okay.
any, is there any
any reason
reason to not? Because I'm happy to discuss it some more now.
I mean, I don't think I agree with Nicole, I don't think there's a reason to wait. We trust our chief, we trust his judgment, he's asking us to do this. There is a bulleted list of reasons that he thinks it's important that this not happen, whether they listen to the Westchester Chiefs or not. I think that, you know, it makes sense for us to back up Chief Guevara in making what Larry characterized as an urgent request. I mean, it's that he takes very seriously.
Again, I don't know the timing of it. I do want people to feel comfortable making a decision, so.
Well, it's currently, it's currently in place. It looks like they're asking for them to pause the consideration of this so they can take the comments from the Westchester County Police Chiefs Association.
Well, I think that's a fair, I'm okay with this, with asking for a pause so that
To carefully
they can have
consider the
feedback
concerns.
from
Yeah.
communities. I mean,
I'm
that
fine with
seems
that.
pretty reasonable.
I believe there was
I'm
a
okay.
pause in the
I mean, I
past,
still
too.
would love to know more about this,
Right, but
to understand it
right,
better.
I
but-
agree with that. I'm just not opposed to centralizing public safety in general, because I just think that, you know, part of the issues that we have is that there's all these different police departments that aren't necessarily communicating with each other and costing the taxpayers a ton of money. And if this is something that will help, so I just feel like I just could recuse myself.
I think it can be
from the
both.
vote.
What we're saying is let's
You can vote
issue
no.
this thing
You
that
don't have to recuse
says
yourself. You can just
pause to consider these concerns. They don't feel like they've been heard yet. That's all we're asking them to do, is to hear our chief's concerns.
Yeah, then
So-
I'm
Okay, then
totally in
that's
favor of
fine.
that, yeah.
Okay.
I'll do a little more research.
Okay, so is there a resolution, is there a motion of the Board of Trustees to pass a resolution urging the New York State court system to pause the implementation of the New York State centralized arraignment plan? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 9. Is there a motion to, finally, we're moving forward. Finally, we're moving forward with the spray pad situation. We got a community development block grant funding for that. Seems like,
We're gonna be able
4
to use
years
this
ago.
puppy till November.
4 years ago.
I mean, it was 80 degrees last week. It's
Right?
great.
4 years ago.
Year-round spray
We
pad.
got this grant 4 years ago. So is there a motion to authorize the solicitation of bids for the Memorial Park spray pad project? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a few step increases coming up, and just for the record, can you tell us, Rob, why they are now getting why are they getting step increases at this particular time?
These are the more recent ones. I think the fire inspector, Russ Maitland, I think that, I'm looking for the date here.
It's actually
This- this
retroactive
actually-
to June 20th.
It is June,
So
right.
what is, to tell it, just for the public's point of view, what's a step increase, and why do they get it?
Right. This is a union contractual increase that was pre-negotiated as part of the existing contract. So I checked with Labor Council, and we were assured that even with the new advent of the upcoming white-collar negotiations, this is an appropriate step to take because it is an existing contract that was already pre-approved.
Okay, that's all we needed to know. So is there a motion to authorize the step increase for Fire Inspector Russell Maitland, effective June 20th, 2024, from a grade 13, step 3 to a grade 13, step 4? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Next item is there a motion to authorize the step increase for Building Department Senior Officer Assistant Sarah Collins, effective September 1st, 2024, which would increase her step from a grade 8, step 3, to a grade 8, step 4. Trustee Rosenasher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. And action
Thank
item
you.
number 12 is there a motion to approve the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village administrator? Trustee Sullivan, second. Second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Okay. Trustee Galen, do you have anything to report?
The downtown committee is working on a possible holiday-oriented downtown celebration, so coming soon with more details.
Okay. Trustee Rosenberg.
The last traffic committee meeting, there was significant discussion about the new no left turn onto and off of Maple Street, the position of signs that make it somewhat easy for drivers to miss the new restriction, and the fact that the crossing guard there is tending to wave people through the illegal left. Those items have been brought to the police chief's attention, as well as the PD liaisons of the traffic committee and to Administrator Yamuter. But that's the only big issue that I think people should know about.
Okay, Trustee Sullivan.
The rec department had some successful Halloween events. They had the Halloween painting on the storefronts, which were really nice, the pet parade and Halloween party at the waterfront park. And I don't know what they called it because I don't remember, but they did a like haunted house at the library, which I heard was very successful, and they had a few kids even crying, so. It was a good,
Yay, we scared
successful,
some
scary,
children.
scary haunted house. And,
But who's
so
standing?
thanks to the library for allowing them to use their space, and maybe they'll be there again. That they'll be able to be more creative with a new space other than just the walkway from Memorial.
Trustee Rosen Asher.
The Human Rights and Diversity Committee will be having the first of the Restorative Justice Listening Circles next Tuesday with myself, the mayor, and Trustee Rosenberg in attendance. It is the hope that this will get rolled out to the entire board and hopefully to who are, people in the community. They're doing this in Greenberg. They've had an incredible response to it. So it really gets to the next level of really getting in touch with implicit bias and things like that to try to build a community. And we all just, well, a few of us went to the Friends of the Dobbs Ferry Seniors fundraiser at Hudson Social before this. They promised me next time they would not hold it on the same night as the board meeting, which they did last year as well. And I think that's all I got.
Trustee Patino.
Nothing to report for today.
Trustee Taylor.
The library continues to run almost innumerable programs of all stripes for all people. And in addition, talking briefly about the Sustainable Dobbs, folks are going to positioning to make a presentation about the value of considering the village should consider hiring a sustainability coordinator. So that is going to be forthcoming.
Okay. Mr. Yamuta, is there anything you want to add or tell us?
But nothing prepared at this time, Mayor. There's a lot of projects, but I'll be happy to prepare something at the next meeting.
Okay. Right. I just want to say thank you to the Recreation Department. I thought the Halloween events were fantastic. They had a great turnout, and I also want to thank DPW for all the work they've done cleaning up after that. So is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. Meeting is hereby adjourned.